Hello and welcome back to Tin's yoga classes. So in this little yoga bite I'm going to give you a very short routine seated on a chair. Good for people that maybe struggle to stand up for periods of time. Maybe they've had an injury, maybe they've got some other problem that inhibits them being able to stand up and move into some of the poses that we tend to use in yoga. Maybe you're just a little bit tired after a long day of work and you don't want to be doing too much, or maybe you just want to do it on your work break at your desk. So we're going to give you a little bit of a seated yoga routine. You might want to get yourself a block or a stack of books. Just have that down the side of the chair. So we're just going to start centering ourselves. So you want to make sure that your feet are fully connected to the floor from the toes to the heels, nice and centered and grounded, really pushing through all the toes. And you want to make sure that your back is nice and straight, and just close your eyes here and bring your awareness to your breathing for a few moments. And just take a moment to notice your body. Is there an area that's feeling tight today? Is there an area that maybe feels like it might need a little bit more work? You're just taking note of these things. You're not going to dwell on them. It's just taking a few moments to really become aware of yourself and your body. Because too often we're so focused with everything that's going on around us, we don't really notice what's going on with our own bodies. Okay, so you want your feet to be about hip width apart on the floor. Bring your hands to the top of your knees, and we're going to start off with a little gentle cat-cow stretch which warms up the spine and is really good for relieving any tension through the spine. You can push yourself as far as you want to in this pose, so you can really arch the back, or you can just move a tiny amount, just whatever feels good for you here. So on inhale, you're going to push the chest forwards and look up to the sky, pushing the shoulders back. On the exhale, you're going to round the spine the opposite way, pulling the chin into the chest, looking down to the thighs. And really rounding the spine towards the back of the chair. Inhaling, looking up. Exhaling, rounding. Inhaling. And you want to really connect the breath to the movement. So the movement wants to finish just as the breath finishes. So the head looks up to the ceiling just as you finish the inhale. And as you start to exhale, the spine starts moving in the opposite direction. Move at your own pace with your own breathing. And on some days you might do this and find that you feel like you're bending quite away, and on other days you might feel like you're not moving much at all. That's absolutely fine. Work with your body on the day. Coming back to centre. We're now going to do a side angle stretch. Nice side stretch for the body. Again, nice and gentle. Only stretch as far as is comfortable for you. So you're going to take the right arm down between the legs, the left arm inhaling up to the side, and then exhaling over. And you can use the right arm just to take hold of the opposite leg looking up to the ceiling, or you can look down to the floor, whatever's more comfortable for you. And just holding this for a couple of breaths. Then inhaling back to centre and exhaling the arm down, and on the other side. So inhaling the right arm up, taking the left arm ready to come down between the legs, and then as you exhale you're going to come over and take hold of the right leg. So you're really getting this stretch through the side of the body. You can take hold of the leg up here if that's easier for you. Having the arm down here will give you a little bit more of a side stretch. Inhaling back to centre, exhaling the arms back down. So in between each pose, just take a few moments just to recenter on the body. And just notice the difference that those poses have made to how your body feels. And then we're just going to turn round to the side of the chair. So again, still make sure that your feet are pressing nicely into the floor. And as you exhale, you're going to take the arm round the back of the chair and you're just going to twist your body. And so the opposite arm comes round to the side and grasps the other side of the back of the chair to give you a nice spinal twist. Keeping the spine nice and long throughout. You want to be really rotating the spine, so you don't just want to be twisting and pulling this shoulder forward to get you further around. Keep this shoulder back. Keep the spine nice and straight. And just go as far as is comfortable for you again. No, there's no rush to get into a full twist here. If you can only go this far, you want to take hold of maybe the middle of the chair, that's absolutely fine. If you push your body too far, you could end up doing yourself an injury on your back. So listen to your body. Always listen to what your body's telling you. Inhaling back round. And then turning the other way around on the chair. Again, taking a moment, making sure that your feet are nice and centred, they're hip distance apart before you start. Taking the arm onto the chair back, and then exhaling and coming round. Again, making sure you're keeping this shoulder back so you can feel a nice stretch across this shoulder here. And your back stays nice and long, straight. And breathing into the pause. On the inhales, focusing on straightening that spine so that on the exhales, you can imagine that you're moving slightly further into the twist, even though your body itself might not move much. And keep this outer hip on the chair as well. Inhaling back round. Exhale, coming back to centre. So now we're going to look at doing a bit of a hip stretch, so just take a few moments again. Just to breathe, feel the body. And then this is where you might want your block. So there are two options for this pose. It's a nice inner hip stretch. It's a seated alternative to the pigeon pose. So the first option is to have your block on the floor. You rest the outside edge of your foot on it and you just allow the knee to fall out to the side. Keep the back nice and long, foot pressed into the floor. Your body still wants to be working, still wants to be engaged throughout this whole pose. And you're just feeling for this stretch in the inner hip area. And you might feel a little bit in the outer hip as well. If you're not feeling much here, you can bring the foot onto the knee. In this pose, make sure you're flexing your foot so that you don't do damage to the knee. If you have the foot pointed, it can mean that the knee tries to twist in the knee joint. So if you just keep that foot flexed, and then you can push the knee down towards the chair. And again, the aim is to feel a stretch in the inner hip area and maybe on the outer hip there. So we're working the hip flexors, nice and gentle. And you don't want to put too much pressure into pushing that knee down, just slight pressure, just to feel the resistance against the knee. And again, keeping both sit bones on the chair. And breathing into the pause. Now if the foot's on your knee, gently take hold of the leg and remove the foot manually from the knee before placing it down onto the floor. If you're on the block, just carefully lift the foot and place it on the floor to the side of the block. Move the block to the other foot, and again the same thing. So placing the outside edge of the foot onto the block to allow your knee to fall out to the side, keeping the back nice and long, both hip bones on the floor. This foot is pressing into the floor. Now it doesn't have to be properly stomping into the floor, you're not putting pressure through that, you're just making sure that the foot is actively engaged with the floor, as though you're standing on it rather than being sat on a chair and not needing to have your weight on it. And again, if you're not feeling much in this pose, you might choose to bring the foot up to the knee, foot flexed, and then gently just pressing through that knee so that you can feel the stretch in the hip here. If you need more of a stretch as well here, you can bring the block over and lift the knee up so that this knee is slightly higher. That'll give you more of a stretch, especially in the outside edge of the hip. So that is another option for this pose. So you choose the height, the variation that feels most comfortable for you. You're not going to get any benefit from going further than is what's comfortable, because your muscles will start to tighten. You need to just push yourself to the limit that you can withstand in order to work with the body's muscles. And only then will you notice benefits from doing these poses. Again, if you've got the foot on the knee, gently lift the foot up to manually place it on the floor. Bringing both feet onto the floor again. Bringing the middle finger and the thumbs to touch. Back of the hands resting on the knees, and just close your eyes. Again, bringing your awareness back to the breathing and back to the body. Does the body feel different? Have a look at those areas that you noticed earlier that were maybe feeling a little bit tense, a little bit tight. How are they feeling now? Are there areas that are now feeling tight? Become aware of what areas of the body feel more open, and which areas might feel like they've been a little bit compressed. These might be the areas that you want to work on next time. in each of the pauses you do have an extension and a compression, but you want to keep the compression nice and elongated. This way the body is more balanced and it reduces the risk of tension build up in those muscles. Bring the hands to heart center and bow to yourself, your practice. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.